Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful tasting of the Virtual Tasting Society. Today, we're excited to talk about a brand new brand that a few of us have heard about, a buzz on social media. We're excited to welcome Dark Arts Whiskey House out of Kentucky. Joining us to talk about the brand and tell us about what we're going to be tasting is Macaulay. You may remember him from, I believe you were with Wilderness Trail before.
Yeah, spent 8 years of my life out in Danville, Kentucky, so things have changed.
All right. Welcome back. It's good to have you. We're excited. We have six very interesting expressions in front of us, but I'll let you talk more about those. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Please tell us about yourself, tell us about the brand, tell us about what we're tasting, and let us know what order we should put them in on our end.
Yeah, well, thanks for everyone for tuning in tonight, and I think we got some beautiful whiskey in front of us tonight. So I guess it's Whiskey House. You'll notice that that name doesn't have any distillery in it, but that is soon to change actually, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the whole model of Dark Arts Whiskey House is just to buy aged product. So I work with about 5 different distilleries between Kentucky and Indiana. And what we do is we usually source like 7, 10-year-old product. And what we will take it in and we'll do several different things with it, such as micro blending, rebarreling, staving, um, just all kinds of various things that kind of amplify and enhance flavor. So when I started this company, I kind of had heard well, many years ago, I'd heard the story of the owner of Compass Box and was really inspired by his ideas of kind of having a methodology of working with Johnny Walker and wanting to do things differently and kind of just showcasing what whiskey can be. And I kind of ran with that with my imagination for a while and really I didn't start finishing or anything like that, but I think that we've got into a precipice of some really interesting products out there. And from that, we've got almost 50 different unique products out there floating around in the market. We've got our core lineup, which is currently 3 different products. We do have a pretty good, robust specialty release program 4 times a year, and I'll talk about that. And then what the specialty is, though, is importing exotic woods and wine and spirits cask as well too. So we're working with Amburana from South America. We're working with Mizunara and Sakura wood from Japan. And then on the wine and spirits side from Europe, we're working with Takai, Spanish orange wine, Sauterne, white muscatel, white port, red port, Madeira. Do a little bit of Armagnac finish, Calvados. Work with 3 different varietals of French oak. And then on the domestic side, we work with Pinot Noir cask, Cabernet Sauvignon cask, as well as some maple syrup cask as well too. So what we'll do is we'll have, traditional single barrel pick program or come up we do a lot of custom blending as well too for clients. So that's been really fun being able to mix and match some of the different elements, different mash bills, different finishing techniques to come up with a really unique product that no one else will have at that point. So we launched last year. The business was incorporated in April 20th of 2023. We started bottling in October, and we have since then expanded into about 27 states of distribution. We've been winning several accolades. Uh, Most recently, got a lot of attention at San Francisco Spirits Awards. We're heading out there next weekend to see if we won Best in Show in 3 different products. So our French oak that we'll be trying tonight, the Amber Rye, both won 99 points in double gold. They were listed in Forbes as some of the top whiskeys in the world. So we're excited to see what the future holds for that and get going. But a little bit about myself. I've been in the whiskey industry for about 10 years now. I started out and working in a microbiology lab owned by Dr. Patrick Heiss of Wilderness Trail Firm Solutions. So I was isolating yeast cells, doing fermentation optimization projects, then turned around to get hired on to be a distillery operator there at the facility. So spent a little bit of time doing that and then really honed in on creating a single barrel pick program. So I've spent most of my time working with the single barrel pick program, just picking out great cask for that, and also putting together small batches, overseeing quality control of finished goods, but really just getting an opportunity to expand my palette and expand my mind on what I'd like to see in the industry. And that's kind of where dark arts comes into play. So I've been able to kind of let my creativity run wild with this brand, which has been such a blessing to be able to share my art and work with everyone around the country.
Very cool.
So
Thank you for being here. That's awesome. Or were the sounds going in and out a little bit on our end? Hopefully you can hear us. Everything's good on your end?
I can hear you.
Okay, good, cool. So we have the six in front of us. Do you want to tell us what order we should put them in?
Yeah, I'm trying to. So I know we got the core lineup.
We got
So
the
we got,
barely legal bourbon. We have the bourbon in French oak, the Juppé Fleureux, the Oloroso
yeah,
sherry bourbon, the Amburana rye, the maple Amburana rye, and the single malt.
okay. So we'll do absolutely last. We'll do the maple amburana. Then we'll do the amburana rye. Um, and then the American single malt, the French oak, and the barely legal. So my mind works differently. So we'll start out with barely legal bourbon first. We will do the French oak, the Oloroso sherry, the American single malt, and then we will segue into the Amburana rye and then the maple Amburana rye.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So does everyone have those in front of them at this point, ready to rock and roll?
Ready to go. I don't know if it's my internet that's giving out, but you're a little choppy on our end, or am I the only one that's seeing this?
Awesome. So, yeah, barely legal bourbons, a reference.
McCall, you keep freezing up. I think it's the outgoing internet for him.
Mm. Ah, he's frozen. Macaulay?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze up for a second. We lost you there. I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi connection or something.
We'll have to blame the Hyatt on that one.
Yeah, hotel Wi-Fi's are notorious for being bad. Just ask Jordan.
Yeah, so we'll start out with the barely legal bourbon
Okay.
first. So that one is the highest high rye bourbon that you can possibly make, and that's what the name comes from. So that one is 51% corn, 39% rye, and 10% malted rye. So very unique mash bill since it doesn't have any malted barley in it. I knew when we discovered these barrels that I needed them. These were some private contract barrels that someone laid down at MGP, and the rumor is they went bankrupt and was not able to execute their contract on it. So bad for them. Good for me since I was able to secure several of those barrels. So I believe that myself and MGP are the only two that have that mash bill currently, unless someone else has picked one up recently. But for me, this is what I like to call the power of the equation because we always bottle this one at cask strength. So we've seen this one from 106 proof barrel proof up to 122 proof on this one. So just a big, dynamic, robust whiskey. Um, Knew that we wanted to have something unfinished and unadulterated in the product portfolio, and this whiskey just shined on through. So the core lineup, including this one, is all small batch products, which means absolutely nothing to anyone in the universe except for possibly myself, because this is being a small batch means nothing. So 3 barrel blend is what I do. So we don't blend for consistency, like let's say Maker's Mark does. So every batch is going to have a little bit of variation between aromatic and flavor to it. Not apples to oranges or anything like that, but just think about like when you're drinking a single barrel from a distillery, maybe three of them, for example, same mash bill, same kind of temperament, same yeast that goes into it, but each one of those is going to have its own personality. So that's what I kind of like this idea of having these rotating micro batches in there. And I think it's really nice to be able to do that. So yeah, so question about the age. So yeah, that batch should be 7 years old. Everything that when we started the brand last year, we were putting out some 6.5 year old. Now everything is in that 7 to 7.5 year old range on the core lineup.
How big are your batches? How many barrels in a batch?
3 barrel blend. So there's three
Wow,
barrels in each of them.
that's tiny.
So
Okay.
we are on I think we just bottled batch 17 across the board for everything. So I think it keeps it interesting. I mean, it's a lot more difficult for me to blend 3 barrels to come up with something really delicious because, I mean, you can go in and just mass produce things and, take center cuts and kind of balance and blend out. But I think this is really a good way to be able to showcase the skill set of our team and what I'm able to do to put together. So I get a lot of this is big, bold whiskey for me. Was expecting when I got into this one, I was expecting it to drink like a rye whiskey, like maybe like maybe like a Wilderness Trail rye or even a Pike's Full or something a little bit more rye forward on it. But I think that the malted rye on this one actually adds a little bit of perceived sweetness and fruit note that's kind of mingled in with the corn on it to give a nice little sweet finish in it. But there is also some complexity. I mean, there's definitely rye in there. You can't get away from that.
And you said this is one of your core expressions?
Yes, this is one of the core products that we have.
So because you found this, are you now having it like contract made to in the same mash bill as far as moving forward, or how does that work?
So we do lay down white or new make barrels, and we do have a pretty big pipeline of younger stock of it as well too.
And without the malted barley, are you adding something to get the yeast to ferment?
So there is enough enzymatic activity from that malted rye process
Oh
that
wow,
we do not add anything to it,
very cool.
which that was one of my first questions when we started getting into these barrels. And then yeah, so the kind of the way that we do the label colors is every label coordinates with the mash bill on it. So this is that dark blue to black almost label if you've seen it out in the wild. It does say barely legal bourbon on it as well too, but um, very very interesting mash bill.
And do the toppers have any kind of meaning? Because I noticed 5 of them had the same topper, and this one was a little different.
So we've been changing out some of the packaging. We the ones that we were rolling with now are a little bit more tapered in and have the DA
Mhm.
uh, on the top of it. So I made a really bad business decision when we started this company to do wax. So we started out with wood enclosures and we're doing wax for our barrel picks, and wax is terrible. I hate wax. I thought it was a good idea until it wasn't. Um, I've cut myself many times. The pressure and altitude or the temperature changes, it cracks. Like flew all the way to Jackson Hole to rebottle and package an entire pallet's worth of whiskey because the wax cracked. So we decided that we wanted to kind of make a better enclosure and then ended up going with these glass decanters here on it.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a silicone stopper rather than cork.
Yes, I am 100% anti-natural cork. Many reasons on that. There's a lot of cork taint and failures. It's a big thing, and it happens in some of the highest end brands out there in the market. Um, so when I was working in a microbiology lab, I went in on a tasting panel blind and had no idea what I was getting into. And every one of the whiskeys just tasted like wet cardboard. And it's like, identified that as cork taint. And that was exactly what happened. So we had a customer, their whiskey was $300 a bottle, and they had thousands and thousands of bottles that had got exposed to cork taint and ruined it. But they decided to keep it out on the market. The grossest and most interesting thing about natural corks that I've seen was, I'm not gonna say the brand, but a friend of mine did a barrel pick with a company, and this company was very, very proud of their all natural Portuguese corks. Well, turns out after spending 2 years in the Arizona summer in his hot liquor store, there were some type of larva inside of the corks, and those little larvae had to grow up into worms and crawl up through the corks. So at the bottom of the bottles, it looked like there were mealworms in it. That was amazing to see that. I wouldn't have believed it just hearing it, but you could see little worm carcasses in it. So synthetic just keeps everything safe and secure, no taint, no worms, nothing gonna happen like that.
Ah, we're not turning whiskey into mezcal all of a sudden? With the worm at
Hey,
the bottom?
it's funny you say that because when I was at the facility, this guy called and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Is there supposed to be a blowfly in this bottle?" And I was like, "It's like, oh, let me replace that for you." He's like, "Well, I didn't know if it was a new thing, like Kentucky bourbon puts flies in it, like they put a worm in tequila or mezcal." And I was like, "No, that was just a unfortunate accident."
Collector's item.
Yeah, collector's item for sure. Well, what's everyone think about the barely legal bourbon so far? Love, hate it?
I got a thumbs up from Derek. There you go.
I definitely get the spice notes from the all the rye, but as I'm drinking more and more, I'm getting a nice sweet finish, and I'm sort of enjoying that combination.
Yeah, so I kind of gravitate towards more perceived sweetness, like when I'm putting my batches and blends, or even like creating something that's going to be a finishing series too. I think it hits well with my palate and seems to be Americans like sweet stuff. There's no getting away from that. But the idea behind the core lineup, though, was to have three very unique, distinctively different flavor profiles in it. So we went with the barely legal as the unfinished one, just to kind of hone in on that blending technique. And then Ambrana, everyone loves or hates Ambrana, but it's been one of our great products. And then big sucker for French oak. So kind of the reason that I decided to jump around from core to the other expressions is because once you go Ambrana, you can't go back. So it's just very palate coating on there. And then so whereas this one is cask strength, the next one, the French oak, is going to be 108 proof. So that and the Ambrane are both 108 proof, whereas barely legal bourbon's always at cask strength. So the French oak one is going to be the red label. So like I was saying, you can see that there's two different red, or you see the photo that he posted, there's two different red labels. The labels coordinate with the mash bill on there, and then the fine print on the bottles, it will say Jupi French Oak on it. So I knew that I wanted to have a French Oak product in our lineup, and when I was looking with different cooperages, I think I had close to 30 or almost 40 different varietals of French Oak, different toast profiles, and I have a big issue with French oak being too tannic and drying on the palate. So going through all these different protoceps, and then I finally came across this one that I fell in love with instantly on the nose, and it was the Jupi. So Jupi is actually a forest in France. It is the smallest forest in France that they harvest French oak from. It's generally used in like ultra, ultra, ultra premium wine production. It's extremely old growth, usually 250-year-old trees, very tight grain. It used to actually be the king's nobility's hunting grounds because it is right north of Paris. When I was doing the prototypes, I discovered this wood and fell in love with it. I called the cooperage up and I was like telling them, I was like, this is it. I was like, this is the wood that I want to use. Let's kind of dial it in together and figure out the toast profile on it. And the guy on the phone was like, brother, he's like, you got really good taste. And I was like, fuck, I know exactly what this means. So Jupi is the most expensive French oak money can buy, as I learned. But reason I went with this wood is it gives me that nice savory French oak note without the tannins. We ended up working with the cooperage to hone in on a toast profile that is like ultra heavy. It like these pieces almost look charred when we get them in. What that does is that is going to give us a nice layer of that caramelized wood sugar for our extraction. So when I'm trying this and when other people try it, I get like a dark sugar note in there, like a toffee to almost cream soda vibe. You pull out a little bit of that vanillin profile as well too. Hear a lot of people pull out red fruit. I get raspberry or dried cherry from time to time coming from the rye, and it being a heavily toasted piece of wood, that and the rye kind of dance together for a nice spice finish on the palate. This one is always bottled at 108 proof. So 108 is kind of my happy spot on product. When I was during COVID, I did a research project on proofing, or we'll call it a research project. I was super bored in between trading GameStop and reading Wall Street Bets and playing the stock market for a while. So I had a customer that had put together a custom blend, and it was like 123 proof, and they were wanting to tone it down a little bit. So having nothing else to do, I took it from 123 all the way down to 80. And I had about a dozen people come in over the course of 2 weeks and evaluate and try all the proof points at it. And almost 95% of the group picked 108. The other few were either plus or minus one or three proof points on it. So seemed like there was a good correlation with the 108 proof point on it. And I'm a big cast strength advocate too. So it was nice to be able to hit this. And honestly, just adding just a little bit of water really opened up that expression from being cast strength, because when most of our barrels are in the teens, like 114, 15 is kind of the house average right now. So we're doing very minimum water dilutions on this. And this was one of those 99-point double golds for San Francisco. So we'll see if this one has got us across the finish line to see if we're best in show on this. So this is number 2 in the core lineup.
Was this the same mash bill as the previous one?
No, this one's a high rye bourbon as well too. It's at 60 corn, 36 rye, and 4% malted barley. So this will be the same mash bill as the Oloroso sherry pour that we're going to be getting into in a second. So this is kind of a nice way to do a comparison to kind of just see what the difference in those finishing techniques has done to that whiskey.
I'm definitely getting some of the notes from the Jupiler Fleur. That's really interesting. And then that little bit of malted barley just kind of gives it that nice little, makes me not hate the rye part so much.
Awesome. Yeah, this one has been it's funny, it's funneling through the core lineup because I mean I do market work all the time. That's what I'm doing out here in Colorado now. And every single person that I try has a different favorite out of the three for a different reason. And that's kind of the beauty of having these dynamically different whiskeys in the portfolio. Because I mean, there's many brands out there that have, same mash bill, maybe a year or two difference in age statement, different varying levels of proof. So being able to carve out some dynamic whiskey like this has been amazing to bring out to market and share with people.
Which expressions are the core again?
The barely legal bourbon, the Jupi, and the Amber on a Rye.
Gotcha.
The first two were both very different, but what they both had in common is they both had a really distinct cinnamon note, but like actual cinnamon, not like the fake cinnamon candies, which I think is what comes through in a lot of whiskeys. But this had an actual, like, it really felt, it also had that same mouthfeel that you get when you get a lot of cinnamon, that sort of dry, tingly tannin thing, which I really enjoyed.
Well, we're gonna segue into a little sweetness here in a second with the Oloroso sherry finish.
Fun side note, I recently got to try Oloroso Sherry on its own, and it's not sweet at all. Blew my mind. Because we always think of Oloroso Sherry finished whiskey as being sweet, but Oloroso Sherry itself is actually very dry.
Yeah, I like working with Oloroso sherry because it adds those kind of those dark, dried fruit notes for me. Like I get like fig or almost date qualities in it. So we work with Oloroso sherry, and we also work with Pinot sherry as well too. So everyone needs to drink more sherry and pour the world because casks are not used to get world. Actual and really nice sherry cask that is. There's some companies in Europe that they just make ports and sherries just to go into barrels to go to Ireland and Scotland for their casking, and the actual liquid never goes to market, which is pretty interesting, and that someone go to those production links to that. But God, we need our scotch, so So I guess if you haven't had a chance to dive into the Oloroso Sherry, you can head into that one, and definitely make sure that you still have some of that French oak in the glass too, because um, you get a nice comparison to it. So the Oloroso Sherry is number 3 in our specialty releases of this year. So I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan, so we are naming this one Sherry Garcia. And this one is hitting the market right now. So on top of the core lineup, we come out with 4 specialty releases a year. The first one that I came out with is My Pride and Joy. So I'm sure I've heard of a cigar batch or a cigar blend before, right? So I thought I kind of think that that's dumb, or at least my personal opinion is. I'm not a cigar smoker. I think it's just marketing jargon, and we were making jokes about it forever in the warehouse. And I started joking with my friend and saying that we were going to come up with a blunt blend because I smoke weed and I smoke blunts. So we're playing around with different finishes and different mash bills. And my old college professor was at the warehouse one night, and one combination that we hadn't put together at that time was a rye whiskey Madeira and Armagnac cask. So we were just sitting around drinking one night and blended those up together, and we all looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, this is the blunt blend, because it had that like kind of resiny pine mid palate, and that Madeira wine kind of brought in some of that fruit terpene on the back end of it. So we actually decided to take it to market, and we created the blunt blend. Whiskey Advocate wrote an article about that, and it was the first whiskey in history to be made to be paired with cannabis consumption. So I've got that feather in my hat. So, well, maybe on my tombstone one day we'll have the man who made whiskey and blunts a reality for the mainstream. But that one's going to be a yearly release. Every year that one comes merch, so it's in hands and on shelves for 420. Second one we did was called Dark Star, going back in with the Grateful Dead themes. That was a double oaked rye. There was only 6 barrels of that in existence because MGP decided to buy some Mexican cooperage barrels. So they were assembled in Mexico and they leaked. They lost almost 2 entire lots of whiskey and they vatted them in 2019 and put those together. And they only got 6 casks out of it. So we released that very, very limited release. And then the third one is going to be the Sherry Garcia, which we all have in right now. So putting this back together was fun because I mean we have several different casts that we could choose from and was looking for something that wasn't going to be just too wine forward on it. Uh, I don't like to do finishing that is used to like mask flavor. So I take a different approach when I'm doing my finishing cask. So instead of just dumping one single barrel into one of those 59-gallon barrels, what I do, depending on which wine or spirit it is I will actually make a custom small batch to complement and enhance the finishing process, and we will fill those barrels up all the way. So mingling these, I think we mingled around 12 barrels of those 59-gallon casks to come out. So there's about 3,000 bottles of this floating around the United States right now. And I haven't decided if we're going to come out with Oloroso Sherry again next year or use this as kind of a rotator.
Somebody was asking, where can someone buy this, the sherry cask?
Um, we do have some, it's going onto our website
Okay.
soon. I think Bourbon Outfitters has it as well too. And then it's sent out to several markets around the country, but they'd be hard to find, honestly.
So best place is just to check your website.
Yeah, I would check out on the website or Bourbon Outfitter. Those would probably be the easiest and most accessible places to get it.
Does your website ship to California?
It does.
On the website, when you clicked on the shop button, it took you to a different bottle.
On what it should take you to a menu of several different bottles.
Not for me.
Does that blunt blend have a green label?
The Blunt Blend is actually a blue label. That one is long gone though. So that one, be on the hunt for that one next year when it comes out in March.
Send me a message so I can let the group know when that comes out.
We because like I said, it kind of started out as a joke, and I only had 6 barrels to put into it, and it turned into a nightmare because we had thousands of case orders come in and only had a few hundred cases of it. So we had to allocate it, and I think that just made everyone want it more. Because like when I'm traveling around the country and going to liquor stores, everyone's always asking me about the Blunt Blend, which is it's amazing.
That button took you to Dark Star Double Oak Rye.
Clicking a link. Let's see. It should be just on.
Well, I clicked on special releases and then it clicked on for the Oloroso Sherry, and it took you to a order page for Dark Star Double Oak Rye.
Hmm. Let me try to see what's going on. I don't know if I know we just shipped it to DC, so I don't know if they've added it to it yet. Yeah, it looks like
Your
it has.
website, sorry.
It looks like it hasn't been added on there yet. So that one should be coming out in the next week or so on there. So
Okay.
I'll keep you guys posted on when that one gets released. So yeah, we just started getting that out. So you guys are some of the first people in the country to be able to try that one. So
Thank you. Nosing the French oak is totally different now. So interesting. And you said all 3 of these were MGP products, right? Originally?
correct. Yeah, everything except for the American single malt is going to be foundation whiskey from MGP.
Very cool. Man, small batches of 3 barrels has got to be tough. Like you can't hide any flaws there. That's are you just is it are you doing percentages of 1 barrel to another? Or are you just dumping 3 good barrels together and hoping it works?
Generally I'm kind of measuring it and seeing what it is and trying to blend the proportions when I'm selecting the barrels for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the backstory on the 3 barrel blend is when I was working at the other distillery, I was, as one would be, I became like the biggest single barrel snob all the time. It was small batch or anything, it just didn't have my interest. I mean, running a barrel pick program will do that to you. And then I had realized that I was living a lie because when I would do a barrel pick, we would always have about 6 samples on the table. And I would tell everyone at the end of the tasting, like, all right, blend them together and let's take it on the tour with us. And I promise it's going to be the best whiskey that we drink all day. And after doing that for several years, the kind of went off in my head and I was like, oh wow, there is something to this the micro batching thing here. I mean, because you're layering complexity and and kind of makes things shine through a little bit. Something interesting, like when you're blending whiskey, just because you have two amazing single barrels does not mean that those two together are will be a good product and the end goal on it. So it's kind of picking out and choosing things and layering it. And I always like to make the analogy of making a sandwich. So are we making like a sandwich using like pick loaf and Miracle Whip and bunny bread, or are we getting some kind of artisan sourdough, like aioli, microgreens, and some imported prosciutto on there? So it's all about choosing what elements for your final goal that you want to be.
I'm blown away by the Oloroso sherry cask. It's so smooth. And it barely has a bite at all, and I can't believe it's almost 115 proof. That's insane. So good. Dangerous. It's dangerously good.
Yeah, I'm drinking some right now too. I was like, I can't just watch everyone else drink right now without pulling something out of my backpack. So that one was excited to see how that hits the market and get everyone else's feedback on it. So far, so well. Um, so we'll continue playing with the sherries and seeing what we can come up with. So I saw you just took a nice drink of water. So
You have
before
any other sherries in the pipeline? You said you got Fino.
I do have some Fino sherry coming out. It's going to be a specialty release um, on some like a barrel pick client though. It's not we're not going to put it out mass scale because those barrels are impossible to get. I was only able to secure 4 of those from a facility because they tend a lot of sherry producers do a like a Solera method on it. So the barrels, the Fino sherry that I have been in the Solera system since 1958.
Wow.
So I decided to replace those, and I decided that I needed to have those.
Excited to see what you do with them.
Yeah, because I mean, even on their own, they're going to be amazing when we get them in. But what I'm really excited about is like doing the different like layering those with other finishes as well too. I think that Fino Sherry and Armagnac would be an amazing marriage of a beautiful product.
Okay, I'm in.
So the next sample that we have on the docket is this one's wild. This is going to be the American single malt. I don't know if you guys are looking in the chat, but that is going to be the orange label. So American single malt is a very tough category out in the market. I feel like it's been around. I was just out at Boulder Spirits Works this afternoon. They make a beautiful American single malt as well too. But since things like Jim or not Jim Beam, yeah, Jim Beam, the Claremont has come out, and also Bulleit's American single malt has come out. I think it's really got people shell shocked in the market because in my opinion, those are really not good products whatsoever. I mean, the first time I tasted the Bullet American single malt, it reminded me of giving my husky a bath and wringing out the towel afterwards. Like it just tasted and smelled like wet dog to me. And we were at the release party of that, and there's several of my friends were just like going crazy about how great it was, and I'm like, you're a liar. Like this is not good. So sorry if I offended any Bullet single malt fans out there tonight, but this one is not that whatsoever. So I've selected these barrels from a Kentucky distillery. They actually use a traditional Irish pot still, and these have a pretty interesting journey on it. So pot distilled, they went into fresh dumped bourbon barrels. They went into got vatted and went into red ale beer barrels, and then went into back into fresh dump or bourbon barrels again. So the American single malt is going to be a triple finish product. And for me, the distillery I went to, I don't like any of their products that they put out whatsoever. I got invited there from their master distiller to come check out some experiments that they had, see if I'd be interested in taking them on because they just didn't know what to do with it. And I brought two friends with me, and I told them, I was like, we're going to go in here and drink a bunch of whiskey, and I'm not going to buy anything. I also told them not to talk to me while I was doing the tasting because I didn't want their opinions because it was my money and my business unless I asked them for a question. And the entire time we're sitting there drinking through these barrels, like they're just like, I'd watch them take a sip and then just like look at me waiting for my reaction. And I'm over there writing all my notes out, and they look at me finally and they're like, "What do you think, Macaulay?" And it's like, I want to buy them all. I was like, "Y'all got anything else in the back?" Because like I had never tasted anything like it because for me reviewing those tasting notes, I pretty much wrote the same thing for every barrel but in different words. I just get a big amount of like orchard fruits. I mean, some of these like I can pull out some like fresh pear, maybe fresh apple, peach, or apricot, various levels of tea notes as well too. You know those peach ring gummies? That is what it reminds me of. So it's just a very bright, fresh, forward whiskey, and I have drank the hell out of that this summer at the pool. It was just interesting to me to be able to pull out all those fresh fruit flavors from it because I've never tasted any kind of American single malt that tastes like that. Usually it's just, more malt forward or like Irish or Scottish whiskey style, but this was something that I knew I had to have when it was presented to me.
Can you
So
rattle off the distillation process and the barrels again, or the barrel for this, and how many barrels are in this batch? This is I
that
haven't
is
tasted it yet, but the nose is just spectacular. I can't stop nosing it. I'm afraid
that
my
one
sample's gonna finish.
that one is actually just a single barrel of it. So they had about 20 barrels of from that experiment that they did because it was like I was saying a minute ago, is distilled in Kentucky on a traditional Irish pot still. And then when they were doing their experiment, they did several different finishing techniques with some different ones, but this specific run that I fell in love with was put into fresh dumped bourbon barrels, then put into red ale beer barrels, and then back into fresh dumped bourbon barrels.
How long is the aging process total?
So it's spent 3 years. That's 7-year old. So it spent 3 years in bourbon, a year in the beer barrel, and then 3 more years back into the bourbon barrel, which it's still sitting in right now.
Yeah, we're gonna need a link to this whenever it goes live. This is wow.
Do you know what kind of malted barley they used for
The
any
the
idea?
the distiller didn't even know. I know it is not distiller's malt. I know that it came from Europe though. So now it's not just like run of the mill Kentucky distiller's malt that everyone uses the same stuff from it.
Gotcha.
This was actually meant for single malt whiskey. Believe that it came from the UK, but do not know anything else other than that.
Yeah, my first sip, I'm like, just shut up and take my money.
Yeah, we're gonna need to all know where we can get
We
this.
need all of it. Just bring it.
I could see Jane just shoving hundreds into her floppy drive slide. Oh my God. And this is good because you're not using virgin casks for this. Literally, that's the number one thing that American single malt does to ruin a single malt for me is go and use the same barrel they would use for a bourbon, like a fresh charred oak cask. And to me, they just clash so bad. That's why.
Yep. And I ate shit today saying that same exact statement to someone who puts their American single malts into no char cask.
It's a question I always ask whenever we have a American single malt tasting. I'm like, well, why are you putting this into a virgin barrel? Why don't you try a previously used barrel somewhere? Because the virgin oak just smothers the delicacy of the single malt. And yet here because you've got I can definitely taste the beer, right? I know that it sat in a beer. I'm fascinated that it was sat in a red ale cask first and then back into a bourbon barrel. That's interesting to me. But anyway, all these things work well in maintaining the delicacy of the single malt structure and just enhancing it with the things that they add as opposed to smothering it.
Yeah, and honestly, I was shocked to know what the maturation process was too, because when I walked in there and they told me that's what it was, I told them I didn't want that shit. And I was wrong. I was so wrong about that visit on so many levels.
FYI, I connect completely with you on the American single malts. I think I've had one that I think was okay, but others, wet dog. That's exactly how I feel about it. And you, I can't believe you said those words. I was like, yep, that's me. That's how I feel about it.
Well, the thing is like specifically, those two products that I was talking about earlier are also still as well too, and go to fresh oak barrels too. So I think that is something that is just not what single malt was intended for. I mean, you're out on many of those old stripped out in the column versus if it's getting pulled through on a pot still. But we're going to continue with the putting out some American single malt. I think after this run, I've to find some more American single malt that I'm interested in, and for some reason, I have Sautern finished American single malt on my brain so hard right now. So looking forward to finding a new supplier and Foundation whiskey and taking it back to the whiskey house.
Has this single
And
malt
playing
already
with
been
it.
bottled with your name on it? Can we buy the barrel from you, rebuy it? It's so damn good. Oh my God.
Everything's for sale, my friend.
Seriously, anybody that doesn't want to finish the sample, give them to me. All to me. This is mad science alchemy at its finest.
Yeah, out of the barrels that we've bottled for customers, I have definitely confiscated several cases for my basement.
Yeah, I really like that red ale note in there. It's so interesting, but it's not overpowering because it wasn't the final finish. So it just gives it that interesting little twist. It's like fruit and spice that you would not think would all go together, and yet it's an absolutely beautiful blend. I'm very impressed.
I've honestly never tasted anything like it. And when I pour it blind for people, I always like to play a game with people. I'm like, if you can tell me exactly what this is, I will sign my company over for you. And that one, no one's ever come close to it. The number one response I get is apricot brandy. Everyone thinks it's some kind of brandy.
Yeah, this is really just, it's so unique and so different. And I was fascinated by the nose because the nose is amazing. And I think Vadim is the same thing. Was it going to hold up the nose? But this is just, and it's very different than the nose, but it's just, I could very easily finish off a lot of this.
Oh, it's easy to do with that one, that's for sure.
Like the peaches and like a lychee green tea.
Just for me to know how much I have to twist Macaulay's arm when we're done with this.
Okay, but I object. I object to not my jam.
I mean, this does taste like jam, and it could be not somebody's jam. That's fine.
No, but I really love it, but you didn't give me the option of saying I have too much alcohol. I need to get rid of it. I can't buy another bottle, right? So now I have to put not my jam, but that's not true. All right. I'm always objecting to something that you do, right, Vadim?
That's fair. Yeah. You're keeping me on my toes. I appreciate it. Oh. Damn, I was genuinely afraid to sip this because I was enjoying the nose so much. And then it came out just candy on the palate. Damn, this is good.
Yeah,
Jordan, what is this? What is this thing about too many bottles? I don't know what that phrase means.
Can you speak whiskey English, please? We don't understand what you just said.
All I heard was wonk 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 wonk.
There's a bad connection, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I understand what you were saying about the nose and the palate, and yeah, it's disappointing that they match so nicely. You can't find something to hate about it.
Yeah, I was over here suffering from FOMO, so I had to go pull a sample out of my backpack of this one.
What do you think?
I'm obsessed with it, man. I'm not even gonna lie.
I do want to know who the producer is, though, if you can share at some point. This is interesting. But you're saying they don't have any left, like they're not making it anymore. This was just a fun experiment.
Fun experiment, and unfortunately, I have an NDA with them.
Ah, gotcha.
So I tried. I'm transparent as much as I can be, when I can be. So I don't ever tell anyone that I made our 10 and 11-year-old product and advertise at UK or anything like that.
I just want to know the state. There's like, I mean, I've been on a mission to taste all this American single malts that are good, and there's a handful that I absolutely love, and this tastes so different though. So if somebody's doing funky things, I want to look into them. But I get it. I respect it.
I can tell you that their base product does not taste like this at all.
Fair enough.
And I think that's why they were like, we don't know what to do with this. And I was like, I know what to do with it.
You sell it to whiskey nerds. That's what you do. You sell this to whiskey nerds.
Exactly. And I think that this kind of shows the beauty of the idea behind Dark Arts Whiskey House is just like cultivating interesting and unique flavors and just showcasing what American whiskey can be. I consider myself a whiskey nerd too, Jane. I read white papers for fun.
I would throw all my shiny gold rocks at you for this stuff.
What's the currency in Harry Potter? The Cougarans or whatever? What? Somebody said Gillians, Goldians,
Galleons.
Thank you. There you go.
Welcome.
Mine even came with cat hair in it. That's how special my pour was.
From my cat?
From mine, she just wanted
Oh, I was like, damn.
one.
It might have been husky hair. I don't know. I can't get rid of that shit.
No,
It
my
adds
be back
flavor
home.
and
I'm happy.
complexity to it. If there's a couple husky hairs in there, Sphinx hair,
Just adds flavor, adds love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
So
got what I wanted from this tasting. I'm off. Thanks, guys. Bye. Oh wait, there's still rye left.
Yeah, like if you don't buy a barrel of this, should we just go heist it? Like virtual tasting society heist movie? Like
Ooh, we need a camera person.
The VTS 12, because there's 12 of us in the group here and only one Macaulay, so we're in good shape here.
And he's not even back at the distillery, so we know
That's
where
right.
the
Oh
barrels
man,
are.
this is perfect timing.
yeah, fair. It's
Adam,
open
the
season
two
right
and
now.
Adam, I think the two of us are the closest. We got to get moving.
We're gonna scare Macaulay off. He's like, I don't think I can trust these people.
Yeah, on a completely unrelated note, can we come visit the warehouse?
So that's a great question. Currently, we're operating out of a place that is not allowed to be open to the public. We hit several roadblocks with the city and zoning, and it's been a logistical nightmare. But good news is I just acquired a distillery this week in Lexington, so that will be opening up to the public in the spring sometime.
Congratulations! Wow.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so super excited about that.
What kind of stills you got? You got any pot stills?
Oh, there is a barely legal definition of a still in there right now, which will be getting swapped out with something else. Um, Going to be changing that up quite a bit soon. Won't be a large production facility, but it allows us to have our distilleries permissions so we can sell to the public. We can have tastings. We can do thief out of the barrel, all those kind of fun things. And then as we're building, kind of expanding the operation on that a little bit, we're gonna have a bar there, of course. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to start making I want to make a little bit of rum, vodka, gin, amaro, specifically Nicino. Basically, I want to make everything that goes into my cocktails from scratch. So I know what's
Right,
going
I
to
like that.
happen is I'm going to make the smallest amount of absinthe or Nicino in the world, and it will be on the cover of every magazine in the liquor industry, and I'm gonna have to scale it up.
The way you think, pal.
So that'll be fun, and we'll have all those announcements coming out in the next few
You should
months.
build a small monastery on your grounds to lure in monks so you can make what, chartreuse.
Yes, oh my God, chartreuse.
And maybe some Trappist ale or something like that.
Yeah, just like a monk alluring monastery.
Yeah, we will be
Um,
making some products similar to that. It's that's been on my vision board for many years.
Are you going to be able to serve alcohol that is not made at the distillery, or are you limited to serving what you make on
Um, that's a great question because in several states that is how it is, but in
Right.
Kentucky, I can call a distributor up and I can get whatever I want delivered there at any moment.
But that also means that you can showcase some of these things as well.
Oh yes, our products will be available for purchase by the flight or by the bottle at the facility.
That's great.
And it's in a really cool area in the distillery district in Lexington, Kentucky. So we'll be neighbors with the Pepper Distillery and a few others. So great entertainment industry area there. If you've ever been to the distillery district in Lexington, it's a really cool vibe.
Awesome. Congratulations on the acquisition. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a year. We have crushed every sales goal that we have made and keep setting the bar a little bit higher. I mean, this time last year, I just quit my job of 8 years. I had two mortgages, two homes, a business with no revenue stream, bought a car, and so I basically did everything that makes people's lives melt down in a single thing in a single week. So I decided to jump in the deep end on it, but no regrets.
Did we go to the ride?
So yeah, yeah, going to the rye. So the rye is going to be that famous 95.5 MGP mash bill. I knew that I wanted to have an Amburana product. I personally love Amburana in moderation. Um, Amburana is what I like to call the cilantro of the whiskey world. So there's two camps of Amburana drinkers. I fucking love it and I fucking hate it. And there's very rarely a middle position on that. So when I was developing the Amburana, I tried like bourbon mash bills. I tried some lower rye content ones, like like the 51% rye, and they just didn't do it for me. Like I personally am not a fan of Amburana and bourbon. And when I finally got to that 95.5, I was just blown away because I think it was a layering intensity with intensity, if you will. And I think that it worked very well with this. So the core one that you're trying is bottled at 108 proof and still that same barrel construct, 3 barrel blend on it. And this one's fun taking out in the market because I mean us whiskey nerds probably all know what Amburana is, have our opinions of it. But when you're out in the market, there's so many people that have never heard of it or even tried it before. And it's one of those that like people try it and then their eyes light up and they're like, "Oh my God, what is this? I've never had these flavors before." And it's nice. So I intended this to be when I make whiskey, I like to drink my stuff neat, but this also holds up nicely in cocktails. So instant substitution on any like classic or traditional whiskey cocktail, but we've also been seeing this made into tiki drinks as well too. So we're writing a cocktail book and working with mixologists around the country and different bar programs that we're in. And I was in LA and this guy was like, man, he's like he tried it for the first time. He's like, let me make something for you. And I was like, okay. He's like, He's like, "What do you think about tiki drinks?" I'm like, I've only had like shitty tiki drinks at like an all-inclusive place in, Mexico or something like that." And he's like, "Oh no," he's like, "I'm gonna do you up right." He's like, "We make house-made orgeat syrup." He's like, "I cold press pineapples, my citrus, all this. We make the bitters." And he presented me this cocktail and it was just amazing. Like I was blown away about how delicious it was. And I went to Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans, which is a big bartender kind of trade show event. And for our activation, I actually made a frozen rye tie with it. And oh God, they were potent and delicious. So do we have some Amberana haters in the group, Amberana lovers, or just Switzerland?
I am unfortunately a hater. And no offense, I'm not saying you're not doing it right, but first time I had it, not yours, but Amrana, it was a drain pour for me, and it's it just is not. It hits my palate terribly wrong. It's not. I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. It happens. You know, I've chased some very highly sought after Amberana finished bottles and fucking hate it. And yeah, I can't do it. I'll try the maple one next. But yeah, no, not
Yeah.
my not my jam.
Well, and I mean that's okay. I mean, we don't live in a like communist whiskey utopian society and drink the same whiskey out of a cardboard box. So That's why we have close to 50 different products at our facility because yeah, it's everyone palettes are different, and that's why we kind of throw out so many different things out there to try to make someone happy. And if we don't have something you love, I'll make you something you love. But
Super
No,
no
I'm
umbrella
a
for you.
I'm a big old whore for finishes. Like I love them. And I think the only thing this suffers from is not being that American single malt. Unsurprisingly, Starlight is my favorite, American distillery going on, but you're giving them a run for their money tonight.
Yeah, the Hubers are great friends of mine. I love their program. I love everything that they do. I mean, they Christian and myself, several others, I consider us to be kind of the new guard of American whiskey, honestly.
I like this. Okay, it's not. I am not interested in drinking it neat like the other expressions, but I mean, I can see this being in eggnog, and you don't have to add anything else. Just the nog, well, the eggnog. I don't know what egg. Anyway, the creamy stuff, and this could be the alcohol base in it, and I don't think you'd have to do anything else.
So interesting to say that. I've been on the vision board for new product development for next year is actually a whiskey cream using the Amburana.
That would be the thing. Yeah. And I cheated and I tasted ahead. And the maple, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So I actually think though the maple covers up some of the interesting spices that you get in the Amburana. And the interesting spices are what complements the eggnog stuff. So I weirdly enough, I don't think the maple amburana is going to be the thing to put into eggnog, but the regular amburana, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
the maple Amburana has an interesting story behind it. So last year, I brought in several maple syrup casks and was just going to release maple finished rye whiskey, and I had a barrel that was theoretically the same as everything else, but it was terrible. It can't get around it. It was terrible on the mid palate. It was like one of those moments. It was like, oh my God, like I might actually have to dump a barrel out. I was like, we're not going to release this. So I got drunk on the forklift one night and decided to throw Ambrana in it. And I shoved it in the corner for several months and I forgot about it and went over there and tried it and was like, oh my God, what did I just make? So last year, every one of the maples got Amberana addition to it, and we decided to bring it back because you're right. The maple does kind of subdue those overreaching notes of the Amberana in there, and kind of I think it adds a little bit of perceived sweetness. You get a little bit more viscosity in the feel, and then some of those like dark wood sugars kind of shines through with it as well too.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear Jordan's reaction because I think, for however offensive you find amburana, I'm curious to hear how you feel about the maple amburana.
Don't like it. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, it's not sharp, but then the finish is just that Amberana classic that just like, and it's very weird because like I don't like. It's funny that you say the cilantro thing because like I didn't know that was a thing, and then my wife, I mean, we've been together 20 some years. She hates cilantro, and I was like, shit, I didn't realize how much I liked it until you stopped fucking putting in shit. So I need a bunch of cilantro. Like I never had an aversion to any. I don't have it. I like Malort. Like no, this is like the one thing that I'm like. It's like this and natto are like the two things I don't do. It's just it.
Yeah, it's polarizing for sure. But I think we'll be seeing Umbrana around for a while though. But some people way overdo it though, in my opinion. So Ambrana and Mizunara as well too are two of the ones that I have to closely monitor. So there is no like magical Excel file or calendar Outlook reminder that says that it's been sitting in the wood for 90 days or anything like that. So everything that I do is to taste on that. So and then it gets down to after a certain amount of time, like you need to taste those every other day and decide when it's ready to come off the wood because there is a very easy chance to take it too far.
I'm gonna quietly launch a poll for the favorite bourbon because I think that should be a little separate before Kate gives me a hard time about it. Gonna toss that out there for everyone. I'll share the results after.
Yeah, the maple amburana is really interesting. It's still got the notes from the straight amburana with the sweetness and the little twist from the maple. It kind of makes me think of like this might actually be kind of interesting in a Tom and Jerry.
I love Tom and Jerry's.
I make Tom and Jerry batter every year for the holidays, and I just absolutely lose my mind on this stuff. But you know, my grandpa was, you know, it's 10 o'clock somewhere, anybody want to snort. So I got used to, you would drink alcoholic eggnog from like 10 a.m. So I kind of got used to trying it with all kinds of random things in it and kind of settled on, I really prefer it with whiskey. And while I'm not a rye fan, this might be an interesting mix with a Tom and Jerry. If you got one that's got a good amount of nutmeg and mace in it, it might be really interesting with that combo.
Yeah, I will have to do some research and development next for my holiday party with that one. It makes really good bananas Foster, I can tell you that much. I've made taken some of the maple rye or the Ambrana maple rye and did a little riff on a dessert one time with that, and it was fantastic.
I just realized we were having so much fun. I didn't realize we're on our last pour. Let me invite Jordan, Adam, Carrie, and James to come back on screen with us. I know Jordan just ran away. Give him a second, and I do want to ask everyone to raise a glass and say cheers to Macaulay for joining us tonight and sharing this wonderful whiskey with us. Yeah, everyone participate. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been really eye-opening. A brand we're definitely going to follow. So thanks for telling us all about it and letting us taste this stuff. The single malt is exceptional. But yeah, cheers. Raise a glass, smile to the camera.
Awesome. Thank you all. Yeah, the single malt was a hard one to follow up. But wanted to make sure the Amburana was last because once you go Amburana, you can't go back.
Sure. That note, I'm sure there are fans of it, so I'm gonna toss out the favorite of the night poll. Let you guys battle it out.
That was not even a hard call.
There is only one correct answer.
I know who voted for something else.
Amburana.
Jordan voted for Amburana twice.
That, by the way, the Amburana is my first Amburana, so
Ah,
I'm glad I got to experience it with you because I feel like you've done some good things.
Jordan, have you started your eggnog for the year already?
No, I'm behind. I need to do it. It's almost like
Jordan makes a lactose-free eggnog, right?
Yeah, I do an aged eggnog that's done for 2 to 3 months, and because my wife's entire family's lactose intolerant, instead of doing a mixture of heavy cream and milk, I found a lactose-free half and half. I just use that instead.
Do you barrel it?
Can't you use goat milk?
I could in theory use goat milk. I choose not to.
Have you tried it with actually it might be with oat milk because oat milk's actually pretty good.
Oat milk would be the backup.
If you have
Oat
to
milk
do
can be a little
dairy-free.
thin, so I've substituted some like oat milk creamer, but the half and half works pretty well for the viscosity.
Yeah. Mine's full dairy. Mine has a massive amount of dairy in it.
Oh, I miss my full dairy.
I'm surprised you don't use like coconut cream.
Because I let it sit for 3 months, I'm always afraid of like what might go bad, what won't, and I'm sure I guess coconut cream wouldn't, but I don't know.
I tried to go vegan one time with the coconut cream, and then I realized that condensed milk has milk in it. And I was like, God
Correct.
damn it. All right, now it's not vegan anymore.
If you ever make a real powerful eggnog, try Martha Stewart's recipe. That chick knows how to drink, dude. It is gnarly.
Does she have a mashup with Snoop Dogg? Because that would be like
You like whipped cream, you do a whole thing. It is delicious, but it's like 12 bottles of liquor. It is the real deal.
I think she took notes from my grandpa.
Yeah, it's good.
You could
Mine
set
just, mine just has 3.
the kitchen.
Rum, bourbon, cognac.
Nice.
3 bottles of
It's-
liquor and 1 bottle of milk, right? That's it.
It's got milk, heavy cream, and half and half. And
Yeah.
eggs.
And
then I have
Colin, I'm
leftover
gonna give
egg
you
white, so I
the
make an
easiest
ancient
quiz
food
of the
cake.
night. Guess which one was the crowd favorite.
Single malt.
I've never seen a more polarized quiz. And we've done 250 some odd events, and I've never seen it this extreme. 92%
wow.
voted single malt. Who voted for the bourbon? Raise your hand. Who was it? That's the guy. I knew it. I knew there's gonna be one standout. Everyone, boo him.
It was gonna be him or me.
Well done, sir. Yeah, I've never seen one stand out so much in a lineup. That's impressive. But let's see on the bourbons. The poll says, what do you think was the favorite of the bourbons?
Ooh, I'm gonna guess Oloroso.
So this one is very close, actually. And Oloroso won by 1 vote. Yeah, so it's 55% Oloroso, 45% the French oak. So that was fun. And let's see, I think that's all the polls I did. Yeah, that's everything.
So Macaulay, just to give you a little feedback, right? I was busy doing all sorts of things, and then this Eventbrite invitation came into my mailbox, and there was dark arts and whiskey, and I just went ahead and signed up. I didn't even look to see what the whiskey was. I'm usually kind of picky, but I thought I don't care. The name is Dark Arts. I'm gonna join this tasting. So just FYI, you got a good name for me at least. Good
Yeah,
mark.
that's something I didn't talk about was actually the name. So the name Dark Arts is a reference to alchemy. So alchemy was commonly called the dark arts because this was a time when scientific inquiry, mysticism, and the arts was suppressed by the church and state. The world is flat, there's no gravity, kind of deal like that. But alchemy, the reason we chose to go with the alchemy theme is like the transformation. And there's a lot of symbolism on the front of the bottle. There's actually 7 alchemical symbols on the front of the bottle that represent the 7 phases of whiskey alchemy. So there's crop growth, fermentation, distillation, maturation, finishing, blending, and bottling. So it kind of shows you that progression of it. And what we really see ourselves doing is taking ordinary whiskey and turning it into liquid gold is kind of the mantra at Dark Arts Whiskey House. Yeah, because everyone's always it's funny going to whiskey events and things like that. Like, God, I was in Oklahoma and like this woman was just like she might as well have just been holding up a cross and holy water on me because she was she finally came to the booth with her daughter and she's like, I can't drink this. She's like, I go to mass every single day. And I was like, what do you think dark arts means? You think it's like a witchcraft coven or like a devil worshipping cult of whiskey in the woods or something? And she was like, yes.
She found us.
So it's like, yeah, welcome to the Illuminati, babe.
The Church of
So
Whiskey.
it's been fun. Like, I mean, there was a right-wing Christian revolt, and they bought every bottle off the shelves and set it on fire. That would be amazing.
Oh, on that note, I have stuff to give away to you guys. McCall hooked us up with some swag. So this is the perfect time to do that. Let me roll us into the randomizer and give some stuff away. 1 second. I'm gonna copy the names, put them to a randomizer wheel.
Do you have
If
one?
you guys
more?
have any other questions, ask them now, and then I'm just gonna turn off the recording, and we can go from there. McCall, did you want to say something? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I think I've kind of covered everything unless anyone else has any questions.
I have one. When we did a tasting with somebody from Elements of Isla, he kind of went off on sherry barrels and sherry. So, like, what's your whiskey related or adjacent nerdum that you want to tell us about?
A good question.
Ooh, that is a good question. I get tired. So finishing is a very interesting conversation. So there's such a big astigmatism in American whiskey against finished whiskey. I mean, I have people say that they hate finished whiskey, but when you're thinking of Scotch or Irish whiskey, no one ever talks shit about those being finished sherry cask or anything else. And then the tangent though that this is going to go into, there are brands out there that are doing like Neapolitan milk stout finished whiskeys, or like blue raspberry bomb pop. I'm sure we can all kind of think of the company I'm talking about, but out there, I think that some of that's a little bit too much. So I really try to take a purist like application to it, sourcing these casks that actually held those products before, instead of deciding that I don't even know what Good Times does with their whiskey. Honestly.
For sure. That's fair. So finishing whiskey is not a crime, is what you're saying, but do it
I
right.
don't think so. I mean, I don't know this, but I also feel like some producers that do finish whiskey are like, man, this barrel sucks. What am I going to do with it? And it's just like, all right, let's throw it in maple syrup and mask it up and try to get it out the door. And that's not the approach to what I do whatsoever.
Isn't that what you did with the Amburana and the maple together?
That one did happen, and that actually turned out to be a good one. But
I actually surprised myself with how much I liked it. I got like sour cherry and creme brulee ice cream all together in one. I actually really enjoyed that one, surprisingly. Normally, I'm not an Amburana guy, and I did, yeah, get off that soapbox. Ah,
I'm right there with you in finishing. Like, it can make great whiskey. I have about 12 Starlight bottles in my house here that I'm trying to get a bunch of local people to just do them blind and just be amazed at how good some of this stuff is.
for sure.
yeah, I mean, they don't like finish whiskey, and then I pour them like a white port finished bourbon, and they're like, "Oh my God, I guess I like finished whiskey." Because there's also a lot of finished whiskey that is way overdone too. So I mean, I don't want to drink sherry with a drop of whiskey in it, if that makes sense. Like
Port is a
finishing is
very popular one that like tastes like port with whiskey mixed together.
right. Or I mean, Kyle Henderson's one of my great friends, but Angel's Envy Rye, that is not rum finish. There is a flavoring solution that goes into that.
I've always thought the key with finishing is to add to the whiskey, and if you finish to the point where you can't taste the distillery's character, you've gone too far. And I've had whiskeys where they've finished the whiskey is brilliant. It tastes brilliant, but you cannot figure out what distillery it came from. And if you finish a whiskey and you can't tell where it came from, it's overfinished. It's overdone. And I think that's the key for me. That's the key to finishing is if you're gonna finish a whiskey, make sure I know who you are still. And if I don't, then you've overdone it.
Unless it's independently bottled, though.
Say what?
Unless it's independently bottled and you don't know the
That's
distiller, then it doesn't matter.
right. I mean, I'm talking about when a distillery finishes.
Yeah, like an official bottling for sure.
Yeah, yeah. On an OB.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, it would be if you poured either one of those Amberana products for me blindly and I didn't make it, I would have a hard time telling you that that was 95.5 MGP rye whiskey, though.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I have some 95.5 rye finished in like chocolate bitters and orange bitters from Dancing Goat, Wisconsin, and it's the same kind of thing. Like it's hard for me to tell you it's 95.5.
John asked a good question. What do you got in the pipeline that's coming out soon that we should be on the lookout for that you're most excited about? That we
So
haven't tasted.
I'll tell you about a secret project two secret projects. How about that?
Perfect.
Secret project number
So
one, it's about to be
what are
not
you
so
doing?
secret very soon, is I think I might have alluded to it or brought it up earlier, but I am super proud, excited to release our fourth core lineup item, which is going to be the toasted Mizunara. So I've taken some of my Wilderness Trail high rye bourbon and I've aged that in toasted Mizunara. That will be releasing after the first of the year. We've got some fun marketing stuff that's going to come out with that though. So I'm really good friends with the Bourbon Junkies, and it's Bourbon Night if you follow or watch either one of those. So I was trying some of these barrels, and like I had an idea. I was like, oh my God, what I'm gonna do is I was like, I want to call these idiots and see what they're up to and see if they're into doing a blend off against each other. So I'm sending 6 barrel samples to each of them in different toast profiles. And I'm going to let each one of them create a small batch. We're going to take that and we're going to release it on Bourbon Outfitter. And we are going to then send 200 milliliter bottle samples to the top 30 whiskey people in the world, influencers, whatever you want to call them, that we choose together, and we're going to let them vote and see who did it better. So they're going to have a blend off for that. That's going to happen in a couple months or about a month, and then we're going to end up releasing that product into the market.
Wow.
So that one is going to be a non-age stated product. Full transparency, it's 4.5 years old whiskey, but I'm not even just saying this to say it. It drinks like a 7 or 8 year old whiskey. Like I've blinded so many people on it. And the flavor profile of it, the best thing that I can describe it as is, those pinwheel cinnamon roll pecan things at the gas station. They're like the dark molassesy pecan flavored sticky buns. That's what it tastes like to me, and it's pretty amazing. So super excited to get that one coming out. And then not that I'm not the biggest fan of what I'm about to say on this next project, but I think it's the do it is I'm going to come out with a probably one of the special releases next year is going to be a honey finished whiskey. So I personally have dislike almost every honey finished whiskey that I've ever had, with the exception of Belle Mead. I thought that was a great one. So I'm actually I've been doing honey tastings from across the country, and I have dialed in on the honey profile that I want, and I think it's going to be a game changer. It's going to be cash strength.
I think to me that's the big thing with a honey finish is the honey is so sweet it can really overtake. So you need the proof, the spices from the wood to fight it.
Well, I plan on using the barely legal bourbon mash bill with it. I'm not going to disclose the varietal of honey that I am going to use because it is a very specific and kind of hard to get one. And it's always monkey see, monkey do. But I can give you some tasting notes on the honey, and the honey on the nose, it smells like creme brulee or like some kind of really strong vanilla, and it actually has more of a like dulce leche or like caramel flavor to it. So it is like I don't know, it's more darker, like Carlisle's wood sugar tasting honey. It comes from a very specific flower in the West, is all I'm going to say about that.
Very cool. Those are exciting. Thanks for sharing. All right. So you were super cool about sending us some swag to give away. So thank you for that. Got a couple of hats, a metal wall decoration that says Dark Arts on it. Somebody's gonna be very lucky to put that in their Whiskey Cave Tavern. And then of course the grand prize is the bottle flight from Aged in Ore. This is a fun one. That's gonna be fun. And then of course some whiskey glasses. So Kate had a really good suggestion in the beginning to not keep everybody here for an hour. So let me share the screen, and then you all can make sure your name's on there. All right. Make sure you see your name. Nobody's left out. I think I got everybody's names. I'm going to hit a quick shuffle. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to run it 3 times. First time is going to be the 2 hats and the wall decor. And that's going to be whoever gets it in the middle gets the wall decor, and the people on the up either side of them get the hats. And you guys can figure out between yourselves what color and all that. And then we'll do the same thing with the glasses. Roll it, and then the 3 people next closest to the thing will get it. And then the last will be the grand prize winner. So must be present to win. Everybody good?
No, Vadim, I don't see my name,
All right.
but I see Henrik's name.
There we go. He was signed up. He's just not here.
Okay,
All right,
Thank
you're on there now.
thank you.
I only see
We're
my
gonna
name
shuffle.
once. Can we put it a couple more times?
I'm sorry?
I only see my name once. Can we put it a couple more times? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I'll put it after we figure out what won, and I'll put you right there, okay? Cool.
Yeah, just before the grand prize, just put my name a couple times. Thanks.
That sounds good. Perfect. All right, ready, set, go. I mean, you can't win more than one. So congratulations. You guys will split these. Let's see. Oh, Rain's not here. Wesley's not here. Eladio, are you here? No, no. Let's keep going down. Derek, you get a hat. Congratulations. Woo! So let me know. Send me a message. I'll get you one of the hats. Kate gets one of the hats, and then Jordan gets the decoration. Easy peasy. That's gonna be real confusing in a second when I spin again and it hits one of these people. So we'll see if that works. Oh, here's what I can do. I can do this. Boom. And Derek, where are you at? Boom. That works. Rain's not here. Take that out. Wesley's not here. Take that out. Gladio's not here.
Yeah, I don't see my name anymore.
Oh yeah, you won. Congratulations.
Just put my
All
name
right,
back.
now let's spin it again. 3 glasses. Tasting glasses that say Dark Arts on them. Hey, is John here? I saw him earlier. No?
I don't think
Oh, he
it's
messaged you. You can't make it, right? He's traveling.
correct.
All right. So we can't do it then. We're gonna remove him and roll it again. And remove Edgar. He ain't here. I think Joseph, are you here? Is Joseph Danko here? No. All right. Removed. All right. Let's roll it. Man, this was a tough Thursday. A bunch of people couldn't make it. Come on, keep going. Keep going.
It's Friday, but that's cool.
Well, it's Friday.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Jeff's not here. I know he wanted his kit. For it to work for the 3, it has to be in the middle between 2 other people. Okay, this isn't as easy as we thought it was going to be. Is Chris here? Christopher Glenn, are you here? No?
You wanted Glenn. He should be here. Come on.
I know, right? Somebody message him. Tell him he missed out. All right, who else is not here? I'm going to remove some names from here. No, I think that's everyone else is left. All right, cool.
I don't think Jason's here.
Who?
Jason's not here.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
they're
Henry's
Jason.
not here either. But all right, we're good. We're here. We're good.
Jason and Heinrich aren't here.
All right, Tim, you win, which means who's next to you? You got Carrie next to you. Carrie wins, and then John Foley wins. Easy, done. Because Jason Souter is not here. Slacker. Good. Those are easy. Somebody write those down. Jane, you got these, right? Thank you.
No, you didn't tell me to write them down.
I trust you guys. Message me what you want. You're here. That's the whole point.
13 people won Agent Or kit somehow.
Right? Yeah, you trust these people, but geez. All right, Carrie, congratulations. You get a glass, and you get a glass, and you get a glass. All right. Jason's out or is not here. Somebody tell him he won and didn't get nothing. Remove Henrik. All right. Look, your chances are good for the Agent Or glass. Fingers crossed. Right? Everybody else here can win, right? Did I miss anyone? Mary
Beth's not here.
Ooh, even better odds. Are you just like knocking people off? What are you, the mafia? What is happening? All right, 1 in 5 chance to win.
Is Shelly here?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
Jamie.
that's James.
Oh, okay.
All right. Good luck.
No.
Woohoo!
Jason,
That
are
would've
you,
been-
you claiming it?
I will claim that.
All
Absolutely.
right, congratulations. Damn it, your box to you is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I know,
This is
right? It's
So if
ridiculous.
anybody wants to trade a glass for a hat, I'm open to that.
All right, perfect. We'll
All
have
right.
behind the scenes trading. I love that.
And hats are less breakable in the mail, just a
That
point.
is true.
Yeah.
Chat, and a lot of us have glasses, and there you go. Awesome. Well, Macaulay, thank you so much for the swag.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the whiskey and sharing this with us. This was fantastic. We're looking forward to future releases from you.
Yeah.
You got anything to say?
Yeah, if any of you all actually find yourself in Kentucky after I open up the new facility, come on in, tell whoever's working there. Macaulay said you get a free barrel tasting or flight or whatever. And I think if you say Macaulay said, no one's ever going to question that. So, but yeah, if you find yourself in Kentucky sometime in the spring or in summer or in the future, please stop by and see us. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff going on there, and just going to keep on innovating and bringing out new products, and just see where the world takes us.
Awesome. If you ever want to come back and do the next round and when the fun stuff comes out, let me know. We'd love to have you. But thanks for spending the evening with us. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you all.
Cheers.